It was Christmas Eve, 1945. The Sodder family had just celebrated the holiday. The children had gone to bed excited. The parents stayed up a little longer. At around 1 a.m., the house caught fire. George and Jennie Sodder escaped with 4 of their 10 children. The other 5, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty, were trapped inside. By morning, the house was ash. But when investigators searched the ruins, they found no bones, no remains, no trace of 5 children who should have been there. And then, years later, the letters started arriving. The Sodder family lived in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George Sodder was an Italian immigrant who had built a successful trucking business. He and his wife Jennie had 10 children, a large, close family in a small American town. Christmas Eve, 1945, was supposed to be a celebration. The children had been playing with new toys. The younger ones had gone to bed. The older ones, Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jennie, 8, and Betty, 5, had asked to stay up a little longer. George and Jennie went to bed around midnight. They left the 5 children still awake downstairs. At approximately 1 a.m., Jennie was woken by a phone call. A woman's voice asked for someone she didn't recognize. Jennie told her she had the wrong number and hung up. She noticed the lights were still on downstairs. She went back to sleep. At 1:30 a.m., she woke again, this time to the smell of smoke. The roof of the house was on fire. George Sodder tried to reach the upstairs rooms, where the 5 children were sleeping. The staircase was already engulfed in flames. He ran outside and tried to use the ladder he kept against the side of the house. It was gone. Later, found in a ditch some distance away. He tried to use one of his trucks to climb up to the windows. The trucks wouldn't start. All of them. On a night when they had been working perfectly earlier that day. Neighbors arrived. Someone called the fire department. The fire chief arrived, but not until nearly 8 in the morning, 7 hours after the fire started. By the time anyone could search the ruins, the house was gone, and the search found nothing. No bones, no teeth, no physical remains of any kind that might be attributed to 5 children. The fire chief declared the children dead. The case was officially closed. George Sodder refused to accept it. In the days and weeks that followed, details emerged that made the official story impossible to accept. The fire had burned for only 45 minutes. House fires of that intensity and duration rarely destroy human bones completely. Bones survive cremations at much higher temperatures for much longer periods. 5 children should have left something behind. The ladder that George had kept against the house, found in a ditch down the road. How did it get there? The trucks that wouldn't start. A mechanic later found that the ignition wires had been cut. All of them. On all the trucks. On Christmas Eve. A witness reported seeing a man throwing something at the house shortly before the fire started. Nobody was ever identified. And the phone call, the wrong number at 1 a.m., from a woman Jennie didn't recognize. Some investigators believe it was made to check if the family was home, or to keep Jennie awake just long enough for someone to act. George hired a pathologist to examine the site. The pathologist found what appeared to be a human liver, intact, unburned, in the ash. If a body had been consumed by the fire, a liver would not survive. The fire chief dismissed the finding. The investigation was not reopened. George and Jennie Sodder never accepted that their children had died. For years, they kept the lights on in their house at Christmas, a sign that their children were welcome home. In 1952, George erected a billboard on the main road in front of their property. It displayed photos of the 5 missing children alongside a reward of $10,000 for information. The billboard stood for decades. Private investigators were hired. Leads were followed across the country. Reported sightings came in from multiple states. None were ever confirmed. In 1967, a woman wrote to the Sodder family claiming to have seen Lewis working in a hotel in Florida. She included a photograph. The family believed it could be him. The lead went nowhere. George Sodder died in 1969, still searching. Jennie continued until her own death in 1989. The billboard stood until it finally deteriorated. It was never taken down voluntarily. In 1968, more than 20 years after the fire, Jennie Sodder received a letter. It was postmarked from Central City, Kentucky. Inside was a photograph of a man in his 30s. On the back, written in a hand Jennie didn't recognize, were the words, "Louis Sodder. I love brother Frankie. Lil boys. A 90132. The man in the photograph bore a resemblance to what Louis Sodder might look like as an adult. The return address led to a hotel that had no record of the sender. The letter could never be traced. The man in the photograph was never identified. Was it Louis? Was it a cruel hoax? Was it someone with genuine information, too afraid to come forward fully? Nobody knows. The letter is the last piece of evidence in the Sodder case, and it answers nothing. The Sodder case has never been officially reopened. West Virginia authorities have consistently maintained that the children died in the fire, but they have never been able to explain the absence of remains. The theories are as haunting as the case itself. Some believe the children were kidnapped before the fire was set, that someone used the fire as cover to make them disappear permanently. George had made enemies. He had spoken publicly against Mussolini, and some believed organized crime connections in the area may have been involved. Others believe the fire was accidental, and that the absence of remains can be explained by the intensity of the blaze and the incomplete nature of the search. But investigators and forensic experts who have reviewed the case consistently find the lack of any skeletal remains deeply troubling. The ladder, the trucks, the phone call, the wires, the liver in the ash, the letter 20 years later. Each piece of evidence alone could be explained away. Together, they form a picture that refuses to resolve. 5 children. Christmas Eve, 1945. A fire that lasted 45 minutes, and nothing left behind. George Sodder spent the last years of his life with a billboard on his front road, showing the faces of his missing children. Every Christmas, the lights stayed on, not because he was sure they were alive, but because he could never be sure they were dead. That uncertainty, that inability to grieve or to move on, is perhaps the most haunting thing about this case. Not the fire, not the missing bones, but a father who kept a light on for children who never came home. If you made it this far, you already know this is the kind of case that doesn't leave you. The next investigation on Gravenfield goes just as deep. Subscribe so you don't miss it. This is Gravenfield. Unsolved. Unexplained. Unforgettable.